enjoy tremendously every single moment of my life, because the dead all time is very close, watch me, and the dead like it catch me. And every 5 minutes, the dead no catch me, enjoy tremendously. Catch a little piece of fishy water, use a little tea or something, everything becoming one tremendous pleasure, because the dead surrender me, and because the dead is so close, it's possible make erotic every single piece of my life.
The small Dali household was professional rather than artistic. His father was the only solicitor in Figueras, and he took it for granted that his only son would one day take up a similar profession. Salvador Dali Sr. was a free thinker. Nonetheless, he was a popular figure in the town. His mother, on the other hand, was a devout Catholic and ensured that the young Dali was educated in the conventional way by the local Christian brothers. This commonplace provincial world gave rise to Dali's earliest fantasies.
I shut my eyes and I turn my mind to my most distant memories in order to see the image that will appear to me most spontaneously with the greatest visual vividness. I see two cypresses, two large cypresses of almost equal height. I see these cypresses through the window of classroom 1 of the Christian Brothers School of Figueras. From my seat I could also observe the paintings on the walls of the corridor outside. I could see only 2 of them distinctly. One represented a fox's head emerging from a cavern. The other was a copy of Millet's Angelus. This painting produced in me an obscure anguish, so poignant that the memory of those 2 motionless silhouettes pursued me for several years, with a constant uneasiness provoked by their continual and ambiguous presence. When I look at Millet's Angelus, the first recollections to come out of my store of memory bring back the twilight and elegiac feeling of childhood. The woman, with her hands together, strikes me as symbolic of the exhibitionistic eroticism of a virgin in waiting. As for the man, he is riveted to the spot, as if hypnotized by the mother. It may be noted that in Freudian vocabulary, his hat stands for the sexual arousal being hidden, to show his attitude of shame over his virility. The erotic significance of the wheelbarrow is as undeniable as that of the pitchfork driven into the ploughed earth.
Dali's obsession with Millet's picture, one of the great icons of European painting, became a constant theme in his work. It was the first of a series of obsessions which preoccupied him throughout his life. As a child, Dali was asthmatic, and his illness became so severe that his parents decided to send him away to friends in the country. The Pichot family moved in the sophisticated society of Barcelona and were renowned for their musical and artistic prowess. The Pichot country house was a converted mill, to which they'd added a circular tower.
My daily visit to the top of the tower was the most eagerly awaited and the most solemn moment of my day. On it, I began to develop the grandiose reveries which I'd begun previously on the roof of my parents' house in Figueras. I would imagine myself set up as a bloody tyrant, reducing all contemporary peoples to slavery for the sole satisfaction of my luxurious and fantastic egocentric caprices. I would abase myself to the humble and degrading condition of the pariah, who would uselessly sacrifice himself in the most romantic of deaths. From the cruel demigod to the humble worker, passing through the stages of the artist to the total genius, I have always arrived at the savior, Salvador, Salvador, Salvador. I could repeat my own name tirelessly. The walls of the dining room were entirely covered with oil paintings and colored etchings, most of them originals by Ramon Pichot, who at this time lived in Paris. These breakfasts were my discovery of French Impressionism. the school of painting which has in fact made the deepest impression on me in my life. It represented my first contact with an anti-academic and revolutionary aesthetic of painting.
Dali began to paint himself, and under the influence of Pichot, his first canvases were in the late Impressionist style. The Pichot family recognized Dali's extraordinary talent and persuaded his reluctant father to send him to the Academy of Fine Art in Madrid. At the students' residencia where he lived, Dali came into contact with contemporaries who were advanced in their ideas and cosmopolitan in their tastes. He formed two friendships which were to have a crucial effect on his life. Luis Buñuel was a natural history student from Aragon. He was to become Spain's greatest filmmaker. Federico Garcia Lorca from Andalusia was already emerging as Spain's leading writer.
Within the residencia, there was a sort of segregation based on intellectual snobbery. Around Federico Garcia Lorca and Luis Buñuel, a small avant-garde literary and artistic group had taken shape. One of its members, passing down the corridor one day, peeked through the open door of my cell-like room and saw the cubist canvas on the easel I was working at. He imparted this news to the others, who had thought I was backward-looking, and were happily surprised at my avant-gardism. They made me one of them. With them and through them, I first heard the expression that was to be so successful and make me so at the same time. It's Darlinian.
Even the relatively liberal atmosphere of the Academy could not support Dali's extravagant behavior, and he was frequently disciplined.
Me expulsaron 2 veces, por el mismo precio 2 veces. Pero la vez que me gusta más es una vez que había un tribunal incompetente totalmente por lo que nos había enseñado, el cual hizo aquello de tirar unas bolitas para saber que teníamos que contestar. Yo abro mi papel y me encuentro con Rafael, tenía que hablar con Rafael. Entonces me levanté y dije, señores, con todo el respeto, me es imposible hablar de ese sujeto delante de los 3 profesores porque yo sé mucho más sobre Rafael que todos ustedes reunidos. Entonces, naturalmente, consejo de disciplina y expulsión por 1 año de la escuela.
On my arrival in Figueras, I found my father thunderstruck by the catastrophe of my expulsion, which had shattered all his hopes that I might succeed in an official career. With my sister, he posed for a pencil drawing, which was one of my most successful of this period. In the expression of my father's face can be seen the mark of the pathetic bitterness which my expulsion from the academy had produced on him.
Despite his father's disapproval, Dali continued to paint. In the seaside town of Cadaqués, he began to produce canvases which show a new interest, surrealism. In the magazine La Révolution Surréaliste, Dali had seen reproductions of the work of artists like the Catalan Juan Miró. Their work impressed him, and under this new influence he began to discover a style of his own.